This video shows how to create the electrical circuit of the original Frustrator X. It assumes that you have already built the base. If you're looking for the instructions on how to build the base itself, you can find a link to the build video in the description. The electrical circuit is designed to make it resilient against raids. We therefore use two physically separated batteries, which we will now use to create two independent circuits. The battery on top will run the outer ring of turret pods and their garage doors. The rationale is that those turrets are most useful if raiders raid from the ground level. In this scenario, the battery in the auxiliary room is more likely to be destroyed than the battery on top of the base. The battery in the auxiliary room will run all the turrets that are most useful to defend against raids from the roof. The rationale is the same, keeping the energy source as far away from the direction of the raid as possible. We further will set up emergency electricity generators in a third spot, the former starter unit, which can keep the most essential auto turrets alive even if both batteries are destroyed. First, we will need to figure out where the energy will be coming from. Since we already planned for two separate circuits, it seems reasonable to have two separate energy sources. My recommendation is to place two wind turbines above the auto turret pods. To ensure long-term compatibility of the placement with the shooting floor and the future expansions, place two single door frames on the outside and a sheet metal wall frame on the inside. Then raise those towers further, maybe 2 floors up. Use a combination of ladders and nettings to get on top. Up here, build a platform made out of 3 sheet metal foundations. Add a 4th one made out of twig to stand upon while placing the turbine. Use the R key to rotate it until the open part faces you. Place it onto the 3 sheet metal foundations. Repeat the same step on top of the second auto turret pod. The result should look like this. Windmills have the unfortunate property that their energy production fluctuates. In a long-term test, Wong, one of the electricity experts on my Discord, figured out that even in the worst case, where wind turbines are placed at sea level, we can on average calculate with a minimum of 52 energy units being constantly available from the battery. Given that we place the windmills elevated, they should provide sufficient energy to run both circuits. Our first goal will be to connect the large battery on the roof to the 3 external auto turret pods. Run a cable from one of the wind turbines into the power in of the large battery. The general strategy will be to have components as concentrated as possible and where they matter. Thus we will try to add into this triangle a switch and a splitter. Run the battery into the switch, which allows to disconnect the whole circuit that is receiving energy from this battery. As long as the switch is off, the battery will charge at a significantly faster rate, which might be useful every now and then. Then run its output into the splitter. The splitter makes sense since we are going to feed 3 subcomponents with equal energy requirements. Go to one of the auto turrets and place a splitter and 2 door controllers. The electrical components are strategically placed behind the auto turret. The rationale is, once raiders get into a position to destroy them, they most likely have already destroyed the auto turret, or it's no longer effective anyway. Go to the solid wall in the core and place an OR switch, an electrical branch and 2 switches. These switches will be used to control the turret and the garage doors. They could also be placed closer to the auto turret. However, if you're getting raided from the side with the auto turret, you might not be able to reach them anymore. The downside is that once raiders breach the core, they can disable the external auto turrets. Choose whatever placement seems better for you. Connect the splitter at the large battery to the OR switch. Note how I connect the cable to the floor and have it emerge from the ceiling above the electrical components. This way the cable will largely be hidden inside of the floor tiles. The OR switch will later allow us to run the auto turrets from the backup generators should the battery be destroyed. Connect the output of the OR switch to the electrical branch. Set its branch value to 11. Connect the branch out to the switch and the switch to the auto turret. Then connect the branch's power out to the second switch. Run this switch into the splitter and the splitter into the door controllers. Now pair the door controllers with the garage doors of the auto turret pods. Please note that those doors have to be closed and the code locks unlocked for this to work. Don't forget to lock the doors again afterwards. This switch now allows to open and close the garage doors remotely. This switch allows to turn off the auto turret in case it needs to be serviced. This can be done through the window from within the base. Please note we connected the auto turret to the branch out because it has priority when the electricity is low. Therefore, the automated garage doors will stop working before the auto turret runs out of energy. This means that the 40 units of electricity provided by a small generator are sufficient to keep all 3 auto turrets online, which is arguably more important than having automated doors, as you can also control them manually. Next, we will connect the battery located in the bedroom with auto turrets above the chutes. In the video on how to build the original Frustrator X, I might have missed to show it, but those triangles above the chute are an ideal place for more auto turrets. When raiders break into the base from the auxiliary rooms, those turrets can make it difficult to climb into the living space. Again, we run the battery into a switch that allows to disconnect the whole circuit. Run its output into an electrical branch and its branch out into a splitter. Set the branch out value to 37. Go to one of the auto turrets above the chute and place an OR switch and a switch. Run one of the outputs of the splitter from the battery into the OR switch. Connect the output of the OR switch to the switch and run its output into the auto turret. By having those components located right behind the turret, they cannot be reached until the auto turret is destroyed. Back on the roof, we still have another auto turret guarding the minicopter hangar. Place a switch next to it and run it into the auto turret. Connect the input of the switch to the electrical branch located in the bedroom. As said earlier, the circuits are prepared to be run from small generators should the need arise, for example if raiders shoot out the batteries. My recommendation would be to place 2 electrical generators into the auxiliary room that used to be the starter unit. Run both of them into a splitter each. Then run the outputs of the splitters into the OR switches that we placed next to the auto turrets. I would use one generator to supply all of the external auto turrets and the other one to supply all the ones above the chute. This way, if only one of the large batteries is destroyed, only one electrical generator is sufficient to take over. If the generators are turned on, they supply 13 units of energy into each of the OR switches, which is sufficient to keep the auto turrets alive. The only exception is the lone auto turret on the roof. And that's the electrical setup for the original Frustrator X complete. I hope these build steps made sense to you and you appreciated that they are split off from the main video. Have fun wiring up the Frustrator. Evil Wurst out.